Sorry to disappoint the believers. We're talking about flying cars.
There are no flying cars to speak of. They'll be here very soon.
I was amazed and wondered if it was actually possible.
You will be able to buy this aircraft for yourself.
We've had quite a lot of interest from India.
Hello everyone, you're with Business Insider. This is Sriram Iyer. And today we're going to talk about that thing that you've always known about probably since you were born, but it doesn't exist. The thing that you know will come someday and life will change forever. The most noticeable thing about that is that it flies. And no, it's not God. Sorry to disappoint the believers. We're talking about flying cars. Yes, welcome back to the future. This Friday, we are indulging Rafi Yoli and Janina Frankel-Yoli from the Israel-based Urban Aeronautics Limited, a company that has developed something called the CityHawk, which according to them will be a flying Uber. So my first question to you, Rafi, straight away without wasting any more time, is that how many times did an Uber driver tell you that he's just around the corner and never made it on time and left you waiting? It disappointed you so much you decided that you want to spot the Uber in the sky when it is at a distance. Isn't that too much of money to invest on getting an Uber on time?
Exactly. I'm with you. Right.
So fantastic. I'm glad. Thank you, Rafi. Thank you, Janina, for taking time out with Business Insider. This is an exciting topic. This is a little far-fetched as far as the common people are concerned, but I think the next half an hour that we have this chat is going to act as an inspiration for the young engineers, as well as the consumers, the tech enthusiasts, to see and know and hear from people who are working on it and know what the progress is and to what extent can they be part of this revolution that's possibly closer today than it was in 1940 when Henry Ford had made the prediction that cars will fly someday. You might laugh at me, but it's coming. That's what he said. Henry Ford, the legendary icon from the United States. And today we have two people from Israel who are, sort of working on this technology and have made some breakthroughs in recent past. We're going to talk about that with them. And also we have with us Navdeep Yadav, our correspondent from Business Insider India, a young boy who's made this meeting happen. Thank you, Navdeep, for connecting all of us here together. And on behalf of our viewers too, we look forward to an exciting conversation. Rafi, to you first. We're talking in 2020. You started this project roughly in 2000. And I want to start with the most fundamental question as far as a layman is concerned. What do you think about when you think of flying cars, right? And when I started researching about your company and your work, I think this was one thing that nobody has said before. People think of all kinds of fantastic things when they talk about flying cars, but I think the easiest way to understand a flying car, is a chopper that is covered, right? For example, a convertible is a car without a roof. Similarly, for our viewers, when you think of flying cars, it's actually pretty simple. It's a helicopter that's covered. Rafi, over to you. How wrong?
Okay. Thank you, Suram.
How wrong am I?
Well, there are various definitions of flying cars because there are no flying cars to speak of. They'll be here very soon, and I agree with you. But everyone can define their own version of a flying car. So what we took literally as a flying car is something that looks like a car, is the size of a car, has the payload of a car, and can take off vertically. So what you see here is indeed our first 1 ton full-scale flying car. As you can see, it's still unmanned. It's called Cormorant, and it already has 300 autonomous flights behind it. And it is indeed the size of a car. It's 2.2 meters wide at this time, approximately 6 meters long. So it's more of a van, but it takes off vertically. It can carry hundreds of kilograms. and it's designed to the same standards and same procedures as you would design a Bell 206 helicopter. The difference being that if you look in the front, there is a duct with a propeller, with a rotor, and behind the cabin, which is here a payload bay, there's another internal rotor. And these rotors basically produce the same lift as an overhead rotor in a normal helicopter. And that's the secret. And that's the code that we had to crack. And this is why it took more than a decade of wind tunnel tests and development to get the same kind of efficiency, same kind of productivity, same speed, same altitude, and so on as a helicopter. Because if you don't get that, you have an inferior product. So what you can see here is the manned version of that aircraft, which we're now starting to work on very seriously. And what you see also is that in this final stage of the program, which we're planning, we are actually replacing the current helicopter turbine engines with hydrogen fuel cells that take hydrogen from 2 tanks, and they feed fuel cell stacks, which generate electricity directly to 2 large electric motors and emit just pure water as their exhaust. So this is what we think is the future fuel for vertical takeoff, which needs a lot of power to lift off vertically. So that's where we're going. And
so
what you see now is the final goal.
This is your latest breakthrough in terms of your project, which is now at least 20 years old, and this hydrogen cells, using them as fuel for the cars, is what is sort of giving you hope that we are closer to a flying car today than we were before.
Yes, I just want to clarify that the first flight we actually had was 5 years ago. Yes, it took 20 years, but out of that, 10, 15 were just pure R&D, pure aerodynamic research in order to create this breakthrough. We're very experienced people with design behind them, and you still need 10 years to actually go through all the testing and the development to be able to achieve the aerodynamics of this vehicle. And what you see here are the implications of that.
I think the point that you're making here. By the way, what street is this? Where is this? What is the image that we are looking at?
Oh, I don't know because I hate.
Looks like New York to me.
Yeah, this is not a real picture yet because we don't have this vehicle landing in New York yet. So I don't know which street it is. I'm sorry.
Okay. This is just this is an illustration more than something as a record of what's happening.
Exactly. Awesome. But you can see the vehicle is very similar to the actual one that you showed previously. Very, very similar. Apart, the one you showed at the beginning, the black one, the carbon one.
That one looked a little unwieldy, yeah? Like this was your prototype, I suppose.
No, this is the one we're flying today. Which is our full-scale test aircraft.
It doesn't look okay. It's a test aircraft, so it will look a lot sleeker when it's manufactured for commuters.
Yes, but you can see it's very, very similar. Only it has a cabin. It's shiny, and what you see here is just the plain black carbon structure fuselage. This is a test vehicle.
Thank you, Rafi, for taking us through this journey. I think in the last answer, Rafi made an important point. We always keep counting investment in dollars and billions, but what he told us is that to achieve something as fantastic as a flying car, what you need to invest is years and patience and an absolute commitment to your dream that you're working on. And this is for somebody who has years of experience and possibly decades of experience in the aircraft industry. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rafi, but we will come to that later. Janina, again, welcome to Business Insider. Thank you for joining us. Uh, you know, you're not the only company and that's working on this particular field. There are a bunch of people across America, Europe, and Asia who are sort of trying out different ways. And this question goes at the heart of what you do. By the way, for our viewers, Janina and Rafi are married, and I'm pretty surprised that when I don't know who came up with the idea first. The other person didn't say, "Oh, shut up! Don't let's not indulge you on this." What happened? Who came up with the idea? Was it Rafi?
Oh yes, it was Rafi. It was
And what
definitely
was your
Rafi.
reaction? What was your first reaction?
I was amazed and wondered if it was actually possible. But I was 100% behind it. It seemed to me a very exciting thing. And I know that Rafi is a very experienced engineer who has accomplished many things in the past. And if he thought he could do it, then I believed absolutely that he would be able to do it.
That's fantastic. I think that's another example for everyone to believe in the other person's dream. I'm glad that Rafi found a mate like you. But Janina, so I want to come back to the important question that I was asking. There are a lot of people working on this. And you have to give me an honest answer. Who do you think has a better shot? I don't know, it's a difficult one to answer. But, I'm sure you take care of marketing and you take care of, you are constantly analyzing the progress that's happening and in something so outlandish as a flying car. What do you think, who stands where and how soon can we see this, becoming a reality?
Look, there are a lot of very interesting designs out there. It seems to almost every month there's a new concept, new design, which I think attests to the fact that this is a market that's going to happen. We are not the only ones. When we began on this project, people were considering us to be dreamers and that the concept was far-fetched. In the meantime, you see that the concept has exploded. And a lot of these are wonderful designs. Almost, I think all of them, the central innovation that they try to incorporate is electric battery power. And so they're trying to get an aircraft that flies, lifts off vertically, lands vertically, and is powered by batteries. We approached it differently. What we said is that we want to bring a new capability. And that capability is to be able to fly and land anywhere. In other words, to have for the first time an aircraft that literally can take you door to door. A helicopter needs a big space to land in. And as you see all of the aircraft, the other designs that are being developed, they're all virtually the same size or bigger than a helicopter. And this is a result of the fact of the commitment to battery power and the fact that batteries are very heavy. So in order to compensate for the heavy batteries, you need to have very large rotors. So we wanted the capability. We weren't married to any concept of the fuel or whatever. And it turns out that for this, you need a lot of power. In today's world, where hydrogen fuel cells are not yet at the level where they can generate the amount of power, but very soon will be. There's a very steep development curve in terms of fuel cells. So in the meantime, we're testing it with conventional fuel and conventional helicopter engines. This will also allow us to certify it. It will expedite the certification because these are engines which are already certified helicopter engines. And when the FAA looks at our aircraft, they won't have to even think about the engine. So, and everything else in the aircraft is really designed to conform with existing FAA. So we believe that this will allow us to enter the market very quickly. Maybe not yet, not initially with hydrogen. The initial models will probably be hybrid, and we will be using them for emergency response. for medical evacuation. And this is the only aircraft, because of its ability to fly door to door and land anywhere, that really brings a new capability to emergency response. It improves emergency response, and it also provides a benefit for the general public. A lot of people are bothered by the fact that these aircraft are for the elite, that it'll be expensive, and that the general public won't really get to use
Janina,
them.
we will come back to that. I think it's the most important question that everybody would be thinking, because, and I want people to stay on with us to hear the answer. How much will a flying car cost? So before that, I'm going to pass this mic on to Navdeep, who's been patiently waiting by. He's desperate. He's excited. He wants to know everything that he can. A young boy who's been with us for a few months now and making some great strides in reporting for the automobile industry. Navdeep, over to you.
So thank you so much, Sriram. So Janina and Rafi, thank you for being here. I have a question that since we have been talking about this hydrogen fuel thing, I wanted to ask how easily are they available in the market?
How easily is our hydrogen fuel cells available? Has this, I mean, Janina, you said that this has expedited the process of launching a flying car. So he's asking, well, you have the fuel cells you need for your tests, but if we were to sort of make it commercial, how easily will these cells be available?
This is a question which is probably better answered by Rafi in terms of his knowledge of the development of fuel cells.
All right. So I'll try and answer this. First of all, there are major commitments by Toyota, Honda, bus companies, trucks, switching to hydrogen. And the infrastructure to hydrogen is expanding. The European Union, by the way, has an EU decision to go to hydrogen. In the Netherlands, all the cooking gas will be hydrogen. Hydrogen will be the common energy source in a few years in Europe. And this really is what we see around us as the fuel for tomorrow. Now, one has to remember, had hydrogen not been 3 times more powerful than fossil fuel and 60 times more powerful than batteries, we wouldn't have bothered with hydrogen. We would probably have gone to batteries as well, okay? But batteries are really have 5% of the energy of normal fuel and just 1 or 2% of the energy of hydrogen. So hydrogen now, there are hundreds of gas stations, and as we speak, there are more and more gas stations that are filling hydrogen-powered cars on the roads. And we believe, we're told that even commercial, ships will be powered by hydrogen in the future, and also aircraft. So we believe in this. We see a company like HighPoint, with whom we teamed last month, really leading the way. Unlike batteries, by the way, that have reached their limit in terms of the power per weight, unless there is a big revolution, which we hope for, but we don't see. Fuel cells are climbing and climbing and climbing and have more and more power. It is expected that in 6-7 years, they'll be 5 to 8 times more powerful for the same weight. They're already better than an aircraft piston engine in terms of power to weight. So we didn't know that 2 years ago. You have to understand this. This is a revolution for us, because this means that we can stay with a small footprint, we can stay with a low noise, we can stay with all the advantages of what we believe is a real flying car, and now make it sustainable, fully sustainable. And this is where we are really having a major reward on our efforts so far in today's world. So we're very happy about this development.
You got any kind of support from the Israeli government in the first decade of developing this car?
Yes, we had some support in the beginning, in the R&D phase. It's natural for every
So
a
what
small
kind of
company.
support was that? What is
Funding,
it that the Indian
funding,
government can learn?
funding. I think around. I don't want to get into actual numbers, but around 10% of our funding came from governments. The rest is from private funding.
Okay.
People who
So
are
do
looking at the
you have
future.
any,
Yeah,
can you, great. So who are the investors that you have on board?
we have private investors right now.
Who, so do
We're
you have any big
talking
names
now.
that are backing? Yeah.
We There are some important people. There are some companies. I think it's not a secret that even Tata made a small investment in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and they're also on board. But we're now at the stage in 2020 where we're looking seriously for agreements with strategic partners. We don't want to become a Boeing or a Tata. We are a small company. We are a very, very dedicated company with a very specific technology, and we are talking now to strategic partners around the world, in Europe, in the US, in order to team with us.
So when you say strategic partners, you are talking to the likes of Boeing, or you talking to
Yes,
financial
aerospace partners. Aerospace partners.
Okay.
Yes.
And so they will sort of take your technology and run with it. That's your idea.
Well, yes, take the technology and run with it. There are some, especially on the unmanned aircraft, by the way, there is the whole system that needs to be added to the aircraft to make it into an unmanned system. And the system of systems, it's not just the aircraft itself. The aircraft is really the pinnacle and
the core of it.
The core of it. It's an enabler, but still there is a periphery of avionics, of radars, of communication, and so on, which we leave to others to bring on board and collaborate with us to bring this system into the market on both our aircraft.
Great. So, Janina, how much money are you looking to raise? What else can you share about? What is the plan for the next 2 years? I know Rafi said that he looking for a strategic investor, people who can collaborate with your company. What other goals are there for the next, say, couple of years?
We are currently in what we believe will be our last financing round, where we're looking for $40 million, possibly in tranches, and maybe not all at once. And this amount of money will take us to the full-scale development and the beginning of manufacturing of the unmanned vehicle. And we believe that at that point we will not have to raise any more money, because we will get either a strategic partner or begin to get orders, pre-orders with down payments. So we're looking for it to be very soon, and not very much more investment from our part, from the company itself.
Navdeep, your question.
As we got to know that it was your idea to build this flying car, right?
Okay.
So I want to know, what was the one thing that made you choose this flying car over the self-driving car?
You could have chosen any one of the two. Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, okay. So in my previous company, this is my second company, my first company, which was sold to a strategic partner around the time when I established this company, we were developing vertical takeoff aircraft, which were basically based on helicopters. We turned helicopters into unmanned and did all kinds of very, very interesting developments with helicopters, power line maintenance, and so on. And I started personally getting interested in helicopters. I started flying helicopters, and then the company bought a small helicopter to experiment with, a manned helicopter. And then I started to realize that the enormity of the problem that the overhead rotor and the tail rotor creates. And this is something that helicopter pilots never talk about too much because they never thought there is an alternative. You know, it's just, that's the beast. You have to be careful. Yes, this is the #1 cause of accidents. And yes, they cannot land anywhere that they want to. And if they have a medevac helicopter, then they have to land a kilometer from where a person just got a stroke or something, and they're running with their equipment in the streets to try and get to this person. They cannot land in the mountains because just a slope of 10 degrees and you can't land a helicopter, and so on and so forth. And all these limitations were known and they were common, and nobody ever thought, you know, maybe we could get rid of this rotor. And this is not surprising. I mean, it's not something that you think about every day when you go to work. You know, can you please take this rotor away from my helicopter? But we were thinking, and we were looking in the past. In the past, there were attempts to build flying jeeps, actually, and they didn't succeed because technology was not ripe. This was the 60s and 70s. And I had some time after selling my first company, and I started reading and experimenting and looking, and I ran some numbers, and I joined a few colleagues from my previous life then, and we ran some numbers, and we saw that we can do it. And the first thing we did was build not the aircraft that you saw, which is a heavy aircraft, but a lighter aircraft with one seat for one pilot. And we took off with that just to make sure that our calculations are okay. And that's where we started raising money, because people saw that we're not joking. And yeah, that's how the company began.
So essentially, you basically took something you knew about, you worked with very closely, and then identified problems there, and then started looking for a solution. I think that's the lesson for all our viewers here. Rafi, how much capital did you start with? How much money did you have to spare when you decided to take this giant leap?
Not a lot.
No,
This was
inspire
not
our young
about money.
viewers,
I don't want to talk about money. Talk about 2 years, okay, full time, with some materials and building a small vertical takeoff machine that looks very similar to what we have today. So, you know, that's not a huge investment. But if you know, when we get visits now by large OEMs and companies that develop airplanes and helicopters and so on, and they come and ask, you know, how much money have you invested so far? So when we ask them, you know, how much would it have cost you to get to the same stage? So we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, which is the common price. We do this for much less because we are a smaller team, and the team is really
how big is it? How many people are working on?
We're 20 people right now. When we built this aircraft that you saw, we were a few more people, but now we're flying it. Once we get funded on this round, which is a stage B, our stage B financing round, we'll start getting more and more people in. But it'll, you know, 100 will be a lot of people for us.
So just correct me if I'm wrong. So stage B is this is the second time that you are raising funds?
The third time. The first time was with the seed.
Seed, yeah.
Then
seed stage A, stage B,
yeah, this is stage B. Yes,
fantastic.
and we also think this stage B will end in some kind of an M&A, or you know, we need a lot more than $40 million to actually finish the program, certify it, then switch to hydrogen, certify that as well, and get this into the market and start getting more and more people flying in it at the safety level that is a Boeing 787 safety level, nothing less than that. We do not believe that one has a chance compromising on
that question.
So this costs money.
I have a very dumb question which I'm going to ask at the end of this on the safety part, but I'll come to that. So in terms of process, let's say from now on, you need $40 million, but you need a lot more than that to sort of make sure that there is production and launch, production, certification and launch. Am I correct? So first money,
Well,
then
no.
production.
First, it's not sequential. $40 million is the critical mass to do the full scale development, set up a production plant. But even if you have a production line, and even if you've done your full scale development, that's where your challenges begin.
Okay.
Believe me, ask any aircraft manufacturer. Yes, you've done it. Yes, you've made it. You're there. But now you have to start selling aircraft and providing all the logistics support and making money on it. Okay, you have to return your investment and so on. And that's where it starts to get interesting. And what has to be said about us is that because we've been there with the big companies, so we are now not missing any step to ensure that this project, whether led by us all the way or by our partners, has a fair chance of really finishing with a full FAA certification with no caveats, and the ability to ferry people for a competitive cost, cover the cost of the aircraft, which is not $20 per hour. It's more than that. It's similar to existing aircraft, but still make money on it and bring a capability, especially, by the way, in emergency response, that will be a game changer in terms of being able to save people. After that will come the air taxi, which is dependent on air traffic management and so on. But medevac is our first thing, rescuing people, saving people's lives.
So which means you're essentially targeting governments and civic bodies to buy this first.
Or private operators of
private
air
hospitals.
ambulances. Yes.
Okay. Yes. And so when you say the production, starting a production with $40 million, what will be in terms of volumes in the first year, first 2 years?
The first production line will be 50 aircraft per year. This will be a pilot. $40 million is the start of that. We think that during the full-scale development, there'll be another similar sum available either from a strategic partner or, as Janina said, from down payments on orders we're already discussing with a first medevac company, placing some maybe pre-orders for these aircraft. So it's all a process. It's not something that happens overnight. You need to have a good and solid product that professional people can look at and say, yes, this complies with what we understand are the rules. Medevac pilots can look at this aircraft and say, yes, this is a breakthrough. This is much better than we have today. And we can't wait to get this aircraft on our fleet. If you don't have that, don't start your project. This is our philosophy.
Fantastic.
Okay, Rafi, what made you decide that it would be Uber and not a self-driving car?
Self-owned
not
car.
a self-owned car.
Like, what do you think? Why a cab and not a car? Yeah.
First of all, we see three markets for the CityHawk. Four markets, actually. The first is the general aviation. You will be able to buy this aircraft for yourself if you have the money. It'll cost just like a helicopter. Any other aircraft will also cost like a helicopter, if you ask me, because the cost of all aircraft per kilogram is very, very similar. And the reason is FAA certification standards that require quality control and materials and components that are all very tightly watched. So you can't go to just any part that you can buy, on the internet. No, you have to, it drives the costs up. So if you're an individual that can purchase a helicopter, a small helicopter, yes, you'll be able to buy this aircraft for your family. I think the next market is the business executive market. I think a lot of executives would love to land on the roof of their buildings, even without a helipad, because this aircraft just takes no space at all. Or maybe one day, just like Sriram showed, maybe in the street. But certainly today, it's already allowed to, in many cities in the world, to land on the top of your office building. So I'm sure, and we have, by the way, our cabin width on the CityHawk is, we're very small, but the cabin width is almost twice of any small helicopter, okay? So you have really a kind of a square 2 by 2 meters area where you can have you can have a meeting, and very, very nice. Okay, so this
when you
is
say 2
suitable
by 2, it's like roughly size of an SUV.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
but wider. It's like if you take the widest vehicle that is legal on the street is a bus, and the bus is 2.5 meters wide. Okay, so the final aircraft will be exactly 2.5 meters wide, and the cabin will be like imagine a bus from side to side and a sort of square. So I cut off a piece of a bus for you, and that's your office now, and very quiet inside. So this is going to be really a very, very nice flying office. While you fly from home to work, you already start working, and so on. Third market, as I said, is Medevac, is emergency response. And the last one is air taxi that you see here in this movie. This is a nice movie that we made.
Janina, I know you've been waiting very patiently. Tell me something. What is the? I know there is a use case for developing countries like India, but in your conversations, in your reaching out to OEMs and strategic partners or investors, have you seen any interest from India?
Yes, actually, we've had quite a lot of interest from India. Nothing yet concrete has developed out of it, but we're talking to various entities in India, and India is potentially, there are certainly OEMs in India that could be terrific partners for us. So all of that is a possibility.
What I'm trying to ask is, let us assume that there is an OEM, need not necessarily be from India, but if the Indian government were to sort of lay out the red carpet and say, give you some incentives, will you be open to setting up a manufacturing plant in India? Would it be cheaper for you in terms of sourcing materials, in terms of labor costs, in terms of skilled technology enthusiasts who are available here? Is that something that you would consider? Or will the manufacturing plant, does it have to be in Israel?
I want to answer that because we're a private company, and that's a big advantage. And yes, we're open to suggestions to manufacture the CityHawk in India, complete the development and manufacture it for all the 4 missions and so on. So absolutely, yes, we know there's very high quality engineers in India. We have a lot of appreciation for the level of knowledge and engineering, and maybe still the production cost and so on is not as high as it is, certainly not as high as it is in the US. So definitely, we are advocating collaboration. We think that it's a mistake to think that you will own the world tomorrow and everyone else will die, but you'll be the only survivor and so on. This is very dangerous thinking. We are calling on partners. We are already partnering, by the way, with Safran in France, which is the #1 supplier of helicopter engines in the world. They are a risk-sharing partner from the start of the program. So they're supplying all our power requirements. We've signed certain agreements with certain parties, not in India yet, but we're definitely looking forward to it. And especially for the manned aircraft, which we think as a man mover has a lot of potential in India.
So what would so in India, if you were to sort of imagine, what would the partner look like? What would it be? What is it that you consider as a strength in India?
Well, there are a few aerospace companies in India. We know Hindustan
Aeronautics. Yeah.
Aeronautics Limited, HAL,
Mhm.
which built the Dhruv helicopter, and
Yeah.
a few very. So we have a lot of respect for these people. They could be a partner. There was some point where Tata could have been a partner. I think they went to different directions, but everything is still open.
So are they still
We're open
invested?
for business.
Have Tata sold out? Or are they still invested in the business?
No, they're still a
Still
partner in the
invested.
company.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
awesome. I think so. Tata. I mean, you already have an existing relationship. I'm sure that is something that you would like to explore. But that's, I guess, between the two of you, we would get to know when you are ready to announce. But beyond that, I think we are nearly end of our time. It's 45 minutes, and it's been fascinating. So before we wrap this discussion, I want to sort of run through some of the key takeaways for those of us who joined us a little later. So it's essentially Rafi and Janina shared with us their journey over the last 2 decades, and 10 to 15 years, in fact 15 years were spent on just getting the first first step of the exercise, which was to making sure that eliminating the disadvantages that rotors bring in a helicopter. So I want you to take you back to the point where I said, imagine a flying car as a helicopter with the choppers that are covered without the disadvantages, which make it the most important reason for the accidents, which Rafi pointed out. He did not talk about how much money he started out with. He's keeping that very close to his chest. But he is looking out for more investments. He's right now looking for strategic investors, partners, original equipment makers like Boeing, like any of the other companies that are there around the world who are interested in taking this project and running with it. His immediate requirement is about $40 million to set up a manufacturing line to get the first 50 flying cars out in the market, and then of course get them certified, get the approvals in place, and then so I'm guessing this is closer than we were ever before to seeing a flying car. He wants to start with government, civic bodies, private hospitals. The first flying car will probably be an ambulance in the way Rafi and Janina imagine it. And correct me if I'm wrong in any of these points, Janina and Rafi, please feel free to.
I think you made the point very well.
Thank you.
You captured it 100%.
Thank you. So they are looking, and in fact, so two things. One is you said that do you have any Indian engineers working on this project as of now?
No, not right now.
You missed out.
No.
You missed out.
I missed out.
It would have been.
I know. I missed out. No, the truth is, we were starting off with Tata. Then they started to work on their little car and on other stuff, and we haven't had so.
Okay.
But maybe some other company, maybe
I'm going to put you in a spot here, yes? Rafi, Janina. Whoever has a better answer. So you're basically saying that the Tatas chose to make the cheapest car before the flying car.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah? You have to ask Tata this. You have to ask Tata this. Yes. But the truth, to give them the benefit, when we were talking to Tata, we were nowhere near where we are today. We were still, working with small models in the wind tunnel and so on. So
I think
it's a different story today.
That's the sensational headline we are going with. Yeah. You can stop. You can't stop us now. So the headline.
You can't stop us now. Right. Good. Can we use that?
Yeah, definitely.
Are we allowed to use that?
The Tatas backed an Israeli company that was working on flying cars, but then decided to shift the focus away to make the cheapest car in the world first.
Well, that's your sentence now. Okay, don't quote me on that. But I want to use your sentence.
That's okay.
You can't stop us now. You can't stop us now. Okay, we'll use that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. On that light note, we would like to sign off here. Thank you, Rafi and Janina, for taking time out. We will keep talking. We are very excited. We are, we're watching the progress that's happening at Urban Aeronautics very closely. Do keep sharing with us, any breakthroughs that you have in the near future. And this is something I think, especially in the times that we live in, and which is the reason why we chose to invite you today for this chat. Given the current pandemic and the anxiety that it is causing, and a lot of people sitting at home on a Friday evening, Netflix is done. There's not much to watch anymore. We finished all of it. Reading is not one of the favorite pastimes anymore. How much Instagram can a person do? How much Twitter can a person track? So I thought it would be interesting to put out there a conversation that inspires people, that makes people aspire and dream about something beyond their daily life and the anxieties that it has brought along. So I hope you and your loved ones, your entire team, are safe and well. And so I hope the same for our viewers. Thank you everyone for taking time out. Any closing message, Rafi?
No, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and you captured what we're doing 100%, and I commend you for that.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
not
you
easy.
so much.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone
It
who
was a
joined
pleasure.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janina. Thanks every viewer who was present with us. And there will be stories, there will be follow-ups, and there will be Business Insider giving you the latest and the most relevant news day in and day out. This is Sriram Iyer signing off.